guys, and welcome to a new video on Summer's Life. As you can tell, I have my Go Ace t-shirt on. We have just had Wrestle Kingdom 20, and normally I do an intro like, here's what I'm going to talk about, blah blah blah. It's been a very long show, there's a lot to chat about, so let's get going. I got up at 6 a.m. to watch this pre-show, which started at 15:15. It was very nice because I mentioned in my preview that I was kind of hoping for a young lion presence, and we had that. So in the opening match, we had Kato and Matsumoto facing Morishima and Yasuda. This was a really good showcase of the Young Lions. It's been a while actually since we've had Young Lion matches on the Tokyo Dome in any way, because it's normally done by a Rambo. But this was phenomenal. Morishima got the pin. And actually, I think that this is a great way of being like, you know what, he is specifically ready for going on excursion. Over the years, he has grown so much working alongside Tanahashi. And actually, I've mentioned this before, all the Young Lions are very strong. And this was an amazing showcase of that. And a great way to start, because you know what, I don't mind getting up at 6:15 in the morning to watch my Young Lions. Due to like how much that happened on this card, I can see how long I'm doing this video, so I'm going to try and keep it like 1.5 minutes, 2 max for each of the matches. So on the pre-show following the Young Lions, we had the New Japan World Television Championship on the line, and it was champion Chris Brooks facing my boy DDT's Chris Brooks. Now, I know a lot of people have trepidations going into this. Some people aren't a fan of DDT. Some people, shockingly, aren't a fan of Chris Brooks or ELP. But this might have been one of the best New Japan television matches ever. And actually, in the midst of it, there was a bit of shenanigans. We had, if anyone knows, Chris likes to use a big elastic. So that was done to hit ELP. There was a bit of interference. But actually, it was so much fun. If anyone doesn't know Chris Brooks, and this was your first appearance of him and first time seeing him, welcome. Chris, he is very tall and very gangly, but he is, just like, I guess, Zack Sabre Jr., perfect at the techers. He is very athletic, but his prime, his skill set lies within the submission base. He was twisting ELP up, and ELP, obviously, is very good himself in submissions, but is more known for his athleticism. And it meant that actually this was a really good backwards and forwards between the two guys. I didn't know who was going to win. There were moments where like Chris was hitting ELP with everything that they got. These two know each other so well. For people who don't know, back on the independent scene, they were doing multiple shows together. They traveled together. They were very good friends. And obviously, this match was it was a surprise of how it went down, because obviously Chris Brooks attacked ELP at the final Road 2 show. Then similarly yesterday, ELP decided to get even and attacked Chris Brooks on the DDT show. In the end, ELP got the win, but this was a great match, a great showcase of DDT talent, and a great way to get fans excited, because this was where I guess most of the crowds had already arrived in the arena. We then got onto the main card, and I'm going to say this, I am very positive about this entire show from start to end. You might not be, but this next match I know was divisive, and this was the Tornado Rambo for the Never 6-Man Championship. Basically, the idea was teams would be introduced every minute, and there was like 9 or 10 teams, with the final team being the champions. Now, we started with Takechi from DDT making a grand entrance because he was with the entire Exile Tribe Rampage group. They came out singing, Takechi, they were doing dancing. Obviously, he was teaming with Uemura and Shota. It was very adorable because Uemura was just walking down and Shota was shaking it down. He was having a little dance. They've joined a J-pop group. And then slowly we had each group coming in one by one. Now, I will say that the only problem I had with this match was because the entrances were so quick, it meant that, the groups came in very quickly and the entrances were quite long. It meant we did miss what kind of was happening inside the ring. But I loved the interactions. We saw at the start, actually, Oscar was the first person to get eliminated, and this was done by Oiwa. Now, why is this interesting? Because tomorrow at New Year's Dash, they're going to have a title match for the IWGP Tag Belts, which was great. We then had Uemura and Taichi battling, so Prodigy and Teacher, and it was Uemura who got them both teams disqualified by going over the rope. Obviously, you had the House of Torture shenanigans, and it was quite interesting because the champions, so Master Wato, Yo, and Yano came out, and Yo was dressed up as Yano, so his hair was like orange and he had the ring gear, and I was getting so annoyed. I was like, for fuck's sake, because they ended up eliminating him. However, in that sense, House of Torture also got eliminated at the end. And so we were left with the big two teams, Bishamon and Bolton Oleg facing TMDK's Zack Sabre Jr., Oiwa and Hartley Jackson. This was great. It was the match, let's see how long it went. So it went 20 minutes. People said it was too long. I thought it was perfect. We saw, guys, TMDK got the win. Zack pinned Bolton Oleg, and this is huge because not only is now TMDK has some belts on them, but this is not only the first title that Oiwa has got, but Hartley Jackson has won his first New Japan title, and it's his first time at the Tokyo Dome. As a member of TMDK, I found this very emotional, and yeah, some people didn't like it, but I thought it was great. It had all my favourite people in it. I just wish that maybe there was like a split screen so we could see the entrances and what was going on in the ring. We then went on to a match that everybody loved. It was the IWGP Women's Championship and the Women's Strong Championship double title match, so it was Shuri facing Saya Kamatani. I will say this as someone who doesn't watch Stardom and only gets their fix with these New Japan shows. These women never fail to shock me. I will say this, and I've said this many times, their ring entrances and ring gear are literally, they put New Japan to shame sometimes. But these women had got given 12 minutes and they did everything. Of course, there was a bit of shenanigans from Hate, who, if anyone doesn't watch Stardom, they are basically their version of House of Torture. But the match was quick-paced. I always notice with Stardom is this quick pace leads to a lot of pinfalls. And while that could be an issue in some ways, it doesn't ever detract from the quality of this match. Shuri was really focusing on her more mat skilled, her own personal background in martial arts. Whereas you could see that Kamatani was a bit more flashy. And actually, interestingly, she'd only been cleared about 48 hours before for this match. So Shuri knew this and was targeting the arm that had caused the issues. And what's really nice is that these women literally, it felt like they were main eventing the show because of how much they put into it. It was fast, it was furious, they were going across the ring in rapid speed. Knowing that this is being shared, and by the way, this is being televised on TV Asahi, I believe, for the whole of Japan to watch, that this was their chance to not only showcase what professional wrestling is, but what women's wrestling is in Japan and what Stardom is. Going into this, a lot of people thought that Kamatani was going to win because she's on the ride of her life, MVP of so many people. However, Shuri actually picked up the win and she now holds both belts. I always love having the Stardom presence. They always deliver despite having slightly less time, so this was great. We then got on to the big 10-man match, so that saw the unaffiliated and House and War Dogs. I was going to say House Torture then. David Finlay, Hiromu, Shingo Takagi, Gabe Kidd and Drilla Maloney facing the Empire. Now obviously we had Callum Newman, Hanari made his return, it's great to see him, Great Khan, Andrade El Idolo, and then the last X who was revealed to be Jake Lee. Now, I know a lot of people were pissed off on the internet, but if you heard the cheers of the Japanese fans or the reaction that Jake Lee got, you can just see that actually, while it might not be your cup of tea, he is a major name in the Japanese wrestling industry. He's won belts every company he's been to. And the biggest thing here is that Jake Lee was a member of the War Dogs, so it made things even more vicious than ever before. I thought the match itself was great. It was so chaotic. We saw Hanari and Shingo back in the ring, if anyone remembers. So Hanari's been off for about a year now. When it came to the Never division, Shingo and Hanari were known for their big bouts. And Drilla was really good in it as well. His Kita Kita Brothers works with Shingo was phenomenal. Of course, my favourite had to be the teaming of David Finlay and Hiromu, or as I call them, Hiromu-chan and Fin, who, carrying on from World Tag League, decided that the best way to combat the Empire was throwing each other out of the ring, throwing each other at your opponents. And the Empire did very good at being heels. They had JY on the outside, and they really knew how to do classic heel versus babyface. I've said it time and time again that New Japan needs heels. Because yes, they have House of Torture, but House of Torture can be exhausting. So this was great. In the end, Jake Lee pinned Hiromu. I know a lot of people are annoyed at this, but this was the best thing. I said that the Empire needed a win. Who else should do it? It would be Jake Lee. No, I love Hiromu. You know, I'm the biggest Hiromu-chan fan. But Hiromu was the only junior there. Really, it is the easiest option. And I hope, I've said this, the Empire is the unluckiest fucking faction that this company has. But let's hope that with this new momentum coming out of Wrestle Kingdom that they can do better, because at the end, someone in the mask came out and Akira basically turned heel properly and showcased a complete united empire. So here's crossed that the green faction in New Japan will have a better year. We then had, maybe I would call it the weakest match on the card, and I mentioned in my preview how worried I was about it. It was the #1 contenders match for the IWGP Junior Championship. I've done a video, I've complained on social media about the state of the junior division, and basically this saw Desperado, Fujita, Taiji Shimori and Sho all wrestling for a chance to face Doki. There was a lot of shenanigans going on. Actually, there were some really nice moments, mainly when Sho was out the ring between Despi, Taiji Shimori and Fujita, 3 of the strongest guys in the junior division and in the company. However, the highlight had to be of when House of Torch was doing its shit with Yoshinobu Kanemaru. We saw, and actually I tweeted, I was like, one person missing from this card is Robbie Eagles. We saw the tag team partners of all of the guys coming out. So we saw Robbie Eagles coming out for Fujita. We saw Robbie X coming out for Ishimori, and we saw Kukai coming out for Desperado. Now, in the end, we saw, shockingly, El Desperado pin get the win. And I know this is probably the most, divisive match, and actually the one that's probably going to get the most criticism, because we have all said, why are they not pushing Fujita? What is happening with this junior division? Why are they just rehashing the same matches? I can't tell you this, only the bookers at New Japan can. I don't want to see any slander to Despi. But yeah, this was probably the weakest match on the card. It happened. We're going to have repercussions, I know, going forward of both the IWGP Tag Championships and the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, especially considering that Despi pinned Sho. So yeah, that was a match that happened. They did loads of announcements for shows and things. And then we got to another match that I was worried about, but actually delivered in so many ways. Aaron Wolf finally made his pro wrestling, New Japan debut. Now at the press conference, Evo was like, if you lose, you're not allowed to wear jiu-jitsu wear, you've got to go to Young Lion, you've got to shave your hair and beard and everything. And actually Aaron Wolf did. He shaved his own hair, came out in the black trunks like he was doing a proper Young Lion stuff. In contrast, Evil came out with the band and his big emo gear and the House of Torture in tandem. And actually, this match was great. There was shenanigans, but normally shenanigans is tiring because at the end, the heels win and it just seems pointless. But everything that happened made Aaron Wolf look $1 million. All of the criticisms that I've had for Bolton Oleg, I didn't see that in Aaron Wolf. He had charisma. The pop that man had for the crowd, I've never heard them go so crazy for someone who is debuted. Some veterans don't even get that. If there was white powder from Evil, he sorted that out. When there was the House Torch coming in, he hit all of them with his judo moves. When he got put through a table by Fale hit on the table, he still managed to pull out a beautiful submission that led to a referee stoppage. And yes, Aaron Wolf is your new never openweight champion. I was terrified because we've never seen Aaron Wolf wrestle. But this man, he's not perfect, but he managed to perfectly combine the style of pro wrestling with his own Olympic backgrounds. And it was so nice to see the way he worked across the ring. He worked with the heels. And this is something that I didn't know and didn't expect. And the pop when he won that title, there could be some haters, especially from international fans, this man has debuted. This was his debut match, not even a Young Lion, his graduation from being a Young Lion, but this was his Young Lion debut at the Tokyo Dome in the semi main event, and he smashed it out of the park. I'm very excited to see what Aaron Wolf will come up with. And actually, interestingly, after this match came out, there was reports that Evil is thinking of leaving New Japan. Now, this would make sense. I mean, Evil maybe has done everything he wants to at New Japan, wants to do different things. It will be interesting to keep an eye on this. It'll be interesting to see, with this news coming out and obviously Evil losing the title, what is going to happen to the state of House of Torture. But if we are really pushing the future and someone that is going to get a lot of eyes on New Japan, Aaron Wolf is the perfect person for that. And we were on a high, so I know, why don't we give us a match of the year contender, as we saw Yota Tsuji, the global champion, facing IWGP heavyweight champion Konosuke Takeshita. Now, going into this, eyes are firmly on Tanahashi's retirement. But Tsuji changed all that around by making comments about AEW and really brought the focus back onto this match. And by God, this was phenomenal. This match was two of the best wrestlers in the world wrestling each other, and two wrestlers who have the best hair. But according to the internet, Tsuji wins out on that one. From the very beginning, I felt like my heart was running out of my chest. Both are so diverse as wrestlers. They're both strong, athletic. Obviously with Tsuji and Takeshita, they have the idea they can do lucha libre things. They can do submissions. But it was the storytelling throughout this that as the match got on, and you could see, because very early in the match, it seemed like Tsuji had a stinger on his shoulder, and it was the running narrative of like Takeshita targeting this. This is going to affect Tsuji's offense. But as Tsuji seemed to get weaker and weaker, like he was struggling to hit moves, the crowds were getting louder and louder chanting for Tsuji. And in contrast, Takeshita was doing really well of being that heel, of the guy who, he doesn't really care about New Japan, he just wants to hold the belts. That's sort of been the narrative that has been pushed through Tsuji. And this match, it went, let me see how long it went. It went 29 minutes, but by God, it felt like 5 minutes. And I always say this, that if a match has gone on for that long, but it feels like a second has passed, that's how you know it's good, because it means that they have had you on the edge of your seats throughout. This was perfect in every way, with the storytelling, with the wrestling itself. And in the end, when it seemed like Takeshita was going to do it, Tsuji decided, in the same way that he has done it several times, he was going to beat Tsuji in the classic New Japan way. And you know how he did that? In the center of the ring with a Boston Crab. He said that this is the Lion Mark, this is my home, and you are not going to be the champion anymore, and he won. It was an amazing match. Tsuji thanked Takeshita. He had adorations, and obviously you can't have a match and just leave it like that, because Jake Lee then came and attacked our good Tsuji. Now, I know a lot of people were like, what? This is stupid. This is not stupid. This is New Japan. This has happened before. And if you want to look at the parallels, the last time this happened was with a double title match, and it was after Tsuji's former pareja, Tetsuya Naito, won, and this was done by Kenta. The links are all there, and I'm very excited to see what happens. After that, it was time to bring out the tissues, because it was Hiroshi Tanahashi's final match. Okada came out with Gedo, but still very much the bastard from AEW. Tanahashi came out to adorations, to cheers. And this match went 30 minutes, and can I tell you, was it the most technically perfect match ever? No. Was it one of my favourite matches I've ever seen? Yes. Because Okada started out as a dick. He went for the Rainmaker pose and stuck his middle finger out. He was teasing Tanahashi. He was doing a bit of cheating. But there was a moment where, because Tanahashi kept fighting, he kicked out of 2 Rainmakers. He carried on after 4 high fly flows that we saw the Okada of old. And you know how we knew that? Because he did the classic Rainmaker with the pan out. This match was, while it was great because actually Tanahashi was managing to mask the issues with his knees, this was a story of heart. Okada got cocky, and you know what can beat that cockiness? The pure gold and the heat that comes from Tanahashi's heart of never giving up, never tiring, never backing down. And he had the crowds shouting, Tanahashi, Tanahashi. And actually when Okada switched to the Rainmaker, we had the crowd sort of being like, yeah, this is the Okada we wanted for this match. We saw heart back, so we saw beautiful drop kicks from Okada. Tanahashi was hitting the classics, the high fly flow, the sling blade, the dragon screw. He was flying over the ropes. I was like, Tanahashi, I know you're retiring, but actually you're still going to need your knees in regular life. And at one point, it felt like, you know what, Tanahashi had beaten Okada down. Why are you going to tell me that the Ace has kicked out of 2 Rainmakers? That he's hit high fly flows and flown over, but he's still moving. He was hitting the classic submissions that we know. But obviously in the end, after 30 minutes, and yes, Tanahashi in his final match went 30 minutes looking strong as ever, Okada got the win. Now, in my predictions, I thought that Tanahashi would win, but actually after what happened with the Tsuji match, I think this made sense. Okada did a quick speech, but actually he thanked the Ace, And he knew that it wasn't his time. And as he left, there were Okada chants because Okada fans got to see the Okada they loved. Now we got onto the big thing. This was time for Tanahashi's retirement ceremony, and this is where the tears started for several reasons. Obviously, this was extremely sad. Tanahashi was greeting the fans. There were sponsors, there were people, and then it was time for a trip down memory lane, as some of the wrestlers that he's had many bouts with came out, and one of the first ones, and the one that actually set me off, and if anyone is new to this channel, you will know, and you might see him there, that the reason that I got into I stayed with New Japan for so long was my love of Jay White, and he has been injured for a while, and as soon as I heard it's music that I used to listen to multiple times a week with his his Titantron. Jay White came out looking very handsome in a suit, and he gave Tanahashi flowers, hugged him, and then it just seemed like there was like star after star. You had Muto, Shibata came out, Ospreay came out, Kenny and Ibushi came out. The funny thing with Shibata's was he came out, decided to have a fight with Tana before hugging him. There was endless names who have been linked to Tanahashi, and obviously I think I was still very emotional from seeing Jay. At one point there was like lining up for photos, and like Jay had his arm around Ibushi for a photo, and then while Muto was trying to take a selfie with Tana, Jay was like this, and I was like, this is, because for me, again, Jay and Tanahashi's feud was one of my favourites. It's the one that I was the most invested in, because it was the good versus the evil. And then how would happen? Who decided to top it all off? Tetsuya Naito came out. Now at first somebody came out and Tana was like, Naito obviously taking time. Then turns out that was actually Bushi, and then Naito came out taking like 50 hours on his entrance, because standard Naito, isn't it? And did his final greeting to the Ace. He's basically saying like, I don't know, I probably won't ever be in this ring again, because if you know, he left last year and he recently won the Noah tag belts with Bushi. But thank you for allowing me to be in this ring once more to say farewell. And they did the LIJ fist pump. It was quite funny. Everyone thought that Naito was going to be a little bastard and hit it and then beat Tanahashi up, but he let the Ace have his dues. This was all done with all of the members of Hontai around the ring, which made it even more emotional, because Hontai is the faction that Tanahashi has led for decades. It is the one that has taken in the young lions, trained them, nurtured them to make them into the stars, including Jay White, who was a product of the dojo. And then after that, Tanahashi did his last speech. We had air guitars, and then he went on like a cart that was being pushed and went all the way around to thank all of the fans. And I don't know if I'm going to do another video about Tanahashi, but if anyone doesn't know, I've met Tanahashi 4 times. I met him at every single Royal Quest, and he is someone that touches your heart in so many ways. You can feel the love he has for the company, for wrestling. You can feel the love he has for the fans, and the admiration and the appreciation for all the support. And I know it's going to be hard tomorrow, because when I watch New Year's Dash, I'll expect Tanahashi to be there. He might be there in the president of the Shacho. But this is the last time anyone will see Hiroshi Tanahashi wrestle, ever, as he makes his retirement. And it was the fitting end. Yes, he didn't get the win, but I'd like to say that even on his retirement match, Tanahashi is as selfless as ever. And I couldn't thank him enough for all the years I've been watching. So I started in Wrestle Kingdom in 2018, and he has always been there. He's been at every show I've seen, and yeah, thank you, Hiroshi Tanahashi. It was a perfect end to an amazing Wrestle Kingdom. I'm going to say the only bad thing about Wrestle Kingdom was that I wasn't physically there. That was a review. I could have spoken about this show for 3 hours, but I just wanted to give you a quick update on everything that happened, all the results, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show, and you need to let me know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments, on social media at wrestling_chat. Let me know your thoughts on the card, your highs, your lows. Considering it's Tanahashi's retirement, let me know your favourite memories of the Ace. As always, make sure to hit like, share and subscribe. I will probably be back again tomorrow after the New Year's Dash show. We've got some big matches set up for that, but also a lot of surprises tend to happen, albeit I don't think it's going to be Jay White making another appearance. But yeah, if you hit subscribe, you will be here for all the news. I know that Wrestle Kingdom, the time is coming to an end, but I am here all year. I do previews, reviews, special videos, all on the company. So yeah, make sure to hit subscribe so you're notified when I post next. Yeah, it's an end of an era, guys. It's a show, and especially the main event, one that we're not going to forget anytime soon. And I just want to say thank you, Hiroshi Tanahashi, for everything. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed Wrestle Kingdom, and I will see you soon. Bye!